Okay. Yeah. So good evening, everyone. Welcome all of you to session 3. In yesterday's
Good evening,
session,
sir.
yeah, someone speaking. Okay. So in yesterday's session, we understood how to create accounting masters. Okay, and we also created 2 transactions since we had some time. So we thought, okay, we'll start doing the transaction. We created the transaction. Hope everyone is clear on that. If you have any doubts, any questions, okay, this is the time to ask. Next 2 minutes. Okay, if you have any questions, you could ask that. Further, we can take this forward. Okay, so if I'll just wait for a minute. If anyone has any question. Okay, so looks like no one has any questions. Good. Okay, so we will move with today's topic. Okay, we'll continue with the accounting masters and accounting vouchers. As told in the previous session, okay, we have divided this training into 3 major categories. One, training on only accounting aspects, okay, which is typically required for a service organization. Then training on accounts and inventory, which is required for a trading organization. And the last, we will look at a manufacturing organization who also requires trading plus the manufacturing processes to be handled in Tally. Okay, so today we are continuing with the accounting portion basically. Yeah, so yesterday, a quick recap of what we did yesterday. We looked at how to create accounting masters, what is accounting groups. We understood what are all the accounting groups and how to create accounting ledgers. We understood how to create ledgers. We created few of the ledgers. Then we also created 2 transactions. Okay, one receipt transaction and one contra transaction. So we'll continue with this in today's session. Okay, so the purpose I'm just repeating to ensure that we learn TallyPrime to help us in our day-to-day work in our organization. Okay, so this is what we did yesterday. We created 11 ledgers. Okay, so I'm just taking from that cue from that so that it's easier for us to continue. So we created these 12 ledgers, right? Okay. Now, does anyone has any doubt here? Okay, so hope no one has any doubt. So we will continue with this. And we also created 2 transactions. Okay, so let me tell you one thing. In TallyPrime, creation of vouchers are transaction one and the same. Okay, we could do it in 2 different methods. One in double entry mode and one in single entry mode. In double entry mode, okay, when we do transaction in double entry mode, we will actually understand the accounting concepts. So which account has to be debited, which account has to be credited. Okay, so that is what we understand in double entry mode. That is what I'm trying to teach you in the current phase, so that you exactly know, okay, what is the nature of transaction, what has to be debited, what has to be credited. Post that, we will also look at single entry mode. So the same transaction, okay, with rather than debit and credit, we will analyze this transaction and say how do we enter that. But internally, it will still take it as debit and credit in Tally. But the way that you enter, the screens will change. Okay, so these are 2 different things. Okay, so typically the single entry mode is for somebody who is not into basically from the accounting background. Okay, still they will be able to use Tally in a better way. Okay, so as I told, for better understanding, first we will do the transaction in double entry mode, then switch to single entry mode and re-enter the same transactions what we have done. So you will understand how do you do it in double entry mode and how do you do it in single entry mode. Okay, and which is better. So you will be able to appreciate both. But the reason why we are starting with double entry mode is you will also understand the accounting concepts. So which account has to be debited, which account has to be credited, why some account needs to be debited or credited. So all those things you will understand because of the core of Tally. Right? Okay. So yesterday we did this transaction. Transaction number 1. On 1st of April, Rama invested 10 lakhs to start his new business. He gave a check for 10 lakh rupees from his personal bank account. The check was deposited to State Bank of India on 1st of April. What voucher will you enter in TallyPrime? So I'm taking this as specific business scenario transactions so that it is easier for you to understand and you will be able to correlate this once when you use Tally and make this transaction. Okay, so yesterday we understood this. Okay, so type of transaction type will be receipt. So how do you enter receipts? Go to GWT, that is Gateway of Tally. Okay, that is what we call as Gateway of Tally. Go to vouchers. In voucher, when you click on F6, you will go to receipt, enter the date, debit State Bank of India 10 lakhs and credit Rama Capital account. Okay, so let us just look at it. How do we do it? So I'm just toggling on between Tally and my presentation. So I've just come to Tally. Sample company, I'm just opening the sample company, what we have created, the training company. Okay, so I've already created this transaction. So if you want to view the created transaction, the best way to go is go to daybook. And one more thing here you need to understand, in each of this menu, when you look at, see, create or alter, in alter A is in blue. In chart of accounts, H is in blue. Under vouchers, V is in blue. K is in blue in daybook. These are all shortcut menus. So rather than using your mouse or up arrow key, down arrow key, you could use that shortcut key to go to that specific menu. Say example, if I want to go to voucher, there are multiple ways. I can just take my mouse and click on voucher, or I can come back, escape and come back, and I can take it through my up arrow key, down arrow key, and come to voucher, click on enter, it takes to the voucher, or I could just click on V on my keyboard because that is the shortcut menu. V is the shortcut menu which will take me to voucher. So Tally, best way that you could use is if you are very conversant with the keyboard, Tally will be very easy to use. You don't require, actually you don't require mouse, but it's completely operatable through mouse also. Okay, it's if you are well versed with keyboard, you could use keyboard, or if you are well versed with mouse, you could continue to use the mouse. Okay, so let me go to voucher. So in voucher, the first transaction what we have already done. So since we have already done the transaction, where you could go and see the existing transaction, the best place is to go to daybook. Click on daybook. It will show the last date of transaction that you have done. The example in this case, we have made a transaction on 2nd of April. But if you look at this example, receipt entry, it was on 1st of April. Okay, so you could change the date here in the daybook. On the right hand side top, you have F2 date. Okay, so in your keyboard, if you just click on F2, it will take you to the date and just change the date here as 1/4/21. So this is the transaction you have done. Enter, it will show you this transaction. So credit Rama Capital account and debit State Bank of India being capital invested. This is the transaction we have done. Credit Rama Capital account and debit State Bank of India. And this is in double entry mode. Okay, so here you can go and change the mode. On the right hand side, you have change mode. Either you could take single entry or double entry. So first let us do it in double entry, understand the debit credit concepts, then go to single entry. Okay, so hope this is clear. Transaction 1 is clear. This is what we did yesterday. Let's move on. Second transaction. Okay, so this transaction we have not done. On 1st of April 2021, Landlord Venkatesh with his GST number submitted invoice number 005 dated 1st of April 21 for 20,000 rupees towards office rent for the month of April 2021. rent attracts 18% GST. This has to be paid before 10th of May 2021. So please read the business scenario and understand what transaction is applicable. So I'm just reading once more for your benefit. On 1st of April 2021, Landlord Venkatesh submitted invoice number 005 dated 1st of April 2021 for rupees 20,000 towards office rent for the month of April 2021. Rent attracts 18% GST to be paid before 10th of May 2021. So what is the transaction? So here the transaction is landlord has given one invoice for April month rent. The rent is 20,000 rupees. He has just given you the invoice, but is it paid today? No, it is not paid today. It has to be paid before 10th of May 2021 because we are still on 1st of April. So he has just given you the bill. Now you need to account this bill. So to account the bill, what is the right transaction that you need to do? So let us go and see that. Transaction type should be journal. Because this is you are accounting the expenses. You are not making any payment to it. You are just accounting that bill. So the transaction type should be journal. So how do you enter the journal? Go to Gateway of Tally, press voucher, go to F7 journal. So let us just go through this. So now I've come back to Gateway of Tally. I'm going to vouchers. I need to go to journal F7. On the right hand side, you can see this F7 as journal. Click on journal. Okay. Now I'm in journal transaction. On the left hand side top, you can see it's a journal transaction. So now you read the scenario once again. So landlord is the Venkatesh. Bill invoice number is 005. Date of the invoice is 1st of April. Okay. And the rent amount is 20,000 plus there is an 18% GST. So the first thing is what has to be debited and what has to be credited. So the date of transaction is 1st of April. So now I'm on 1st of April itself. So debit has to be office rent. Again, there is a tax because 18% GST, 9% CGST and 9% SGST. So it is 1800, and credit has to go to landlord Venkatesh. Total is 23,600. So let's do this data entry. Okay. So first is on the top, it is asking the reference number. Here you give the landlord invoice number 005, 1st April 2021. So I'm just saying 005. It's taking 1st April 2021. So buy means debit. Okay, so instead of buy and to, if you want to use debit and credit, you could just go and change the configuration. You could go to setup. Okay, in the setup, you could go and change the display setup. Here you could specify, you can go to more and you could specify here, rather than using buy and to, you want to use debit credit. One second. Did I take the right one? Yeah, I think display was the format for numbering. Okay, no. Okay, I'll just check that. How to do that? Currently, let us just not worry about it. Let me just go back. 005. Okay, so now what has to be debited? Office rent. So I have list here, office rent. What is the amount? 20,000 debit. Next, again, I need to debit as per the transaction. Debit has to go to input CGST 9%, input SGST 9% because the rent is charged at 18%. So again, I'll say buy. And is there input CGST 9%, input SGST 9%? No, it's not available. 6% is available. So I need to create a ledger called input CGST, input SGST at 9%, two different ledgers I need to create. Now, how do I create? I'm already in the transaction. So the best way to go on is escape this, go back to my gateway of Tally, create and everything and come back and do. That is one way of doing. The simple way is I can just create on the fly over here. Okay, to create a ledger on the transaction screen, the shortcut key is Alt C. Alt C is for create. Say example on the ledger, I'm just clicking on Alt C on my keyboard. Now it has taken me to ledger creation screen. So here I'm just creating input CGST at 9% as one ledger, which typically comes under duties and taxes. So I can just select the group called duties and taxes, and type of duty tax is GST, and it comes under central tax because it is CGST, it comes under central tax, and the tax charged is 9%. Okay, amount is 1,800. Similarly, I need to create one more input SGST 9% because I don't have input SGST here at 9%. I have only input SGST at 6%, not 9%. So I'll again create this Alt C for create input SGST at 9%. Duties and taxes, it comes under GST type of tax, and it is linked to tax type is state tax, and percentage is 9%. Amount is 1,800. Now, to credit has to go to Venkatesh landlord. Okay, he's our landlord. So again, Venkatesh ledger is not available in the list. If you type V, it says spelling error, it's not available. So I need to create this. Again, I'm clicking on Alt C, create Venkatesh landlord. I'm just saying Venkatesh as Venkatesh landlord. And since Venkatesh is the landlord and I'm paying him the rent, he is my supplier. So the grouping should be under sundry creditors. So select sundry creditors. Bill by bill it is required because I need to track when I'm making the payment for this specific bill. Okay, give his address. Baswangudi, Bengaluru. Pin code. Okay, all other things it's optional. If you have his mobile number, you could update his mobile number, contact details. All these things are optional. If you have the details, you could specify. And the PAN number and the GST number. If you have these numbers, you could give it. Yes, we have the number. It is 29 ABFPB 8133M. Okay. So I can even copy this, Control C, then come to GST. He's a regular dealer, 29, and paste. So that is the PAN number is also included in the GST. The last three characters are 1ZW. 1ZW. That is the GST number of Venkatesh. Okay, set all the GST details no, and I'm accepting. The ledger got created. Now it is asking for the bill wise reference because I'm not making any payment to him. It is still, I'm just accounting the bill. So I need to account when this is due to be paid. So I'll just say new number. It's automatically taken 005 his invoice number because we had given it in the reference. Example, I'm just saying 30 days of credit. So by 1st May, I need to pay 23,600 amount. Being rent invoice accounted. Right? If you want to see the transaction, what you have done, you can click on page up on your keyboard. It will show the transaction. So I'm just repeating. In the reference number, I have given the supplier invoice number, the date, debiting office rent, debiting input CGST, input SGST, and crediting Venkatesh Landlord. So this is the transaction that we looked at, and this is what we have done in Tally. Okay. Now, as we do this transaction, we should also understand how does that affect our reports. Okay, so now let us look at the reports. What are all the major reports that you want to look at? The first report that you need to look at is trial balance. If you go to display more reports, you will get the trial balance over here. Click on trial balance. It is giving you the balances. On the right hand side, you can click on ledger wise. It will show you the ledger wise balance. See here, cash 10,000 rupees is the balance. Input CGST 9% and input SGST 9%, 1800 is the balance. Narahari Traders 10,000 is the balance. Office rent 20,000. This is what we accounted now. Rama Capital Account 10 lakhs. State Bank of India 10 lakhs. Venkatesh 23,600. So this is how my trial balance is getting tallied. This is the first report. The next report that you could look at is profit and loss. If you look at profit and loss, currently we have not done any purchase or sales transaction. We have made an expense. Under expense, if you look at, there is an office rent of 20,000 rupees. So since I don't have any other transaction, it is showing us net loss at any given point of time. The other report that you could look at is balance sheet. So in the balance sheet, you are able to see the report. There's a capital account. There is duties and taxes. Sundry creditors, duties and taxes is showing minus because there is only input tax. There is no output tax. You have collected money that you have to adjust that. And in current assets, you have 10,000 in cash and 10 lakh in bank account. Okay, under you want to see which bank, you could just click on that. It will show you bank, State Bank of India. Again, you click. It is showing you the transactions, month-wise breakup. Again, you click on that. It will show you individual transactions. Right? Again, escape, it comes out of the report. So in Tally, it is like if you want to go inside the reports, you need to click on enter, enter, enter. You want to come out to the previous screens, you need to click on escape, escape. So these are two major keys that you need to use in Tally. Hope this is clear. Now let us move on to the next transaction. Okay, next sample transaction. Transaction number 3. On 2nd of April 2021, withdrew 10,000 from SBI for office expense. This is, I think yesterday we did this transaction already. This transaction is already available. We'll just go and look at in our Tally. If you go to daybook, it's on 1st of April. Okay, if you want to go to 2nd of April, either you could click on date and change the date to 2nd of April, or on your keyboard, you could press on plus key. It will take you to the next date. Right? Okay. 1 second, just hold on. Prasad, you could maximize the screen so that you can view completely. Yeah, click on that. No, down. Alla, no, there only. Melgade view anta idu. Kelgade, right side. Alli. Click on that. You have full screen. Now it's easier for you to look at. Okay. Yeah. Right. So this transaction is already there. Yesterday we did this transaction. Debit, cash and credit, State Bank of India, where cash is withdrawn for office expense purpose. Right? This transaction is already there. We have done this. So let us go to transaction number 4. So debit cash and credit State Bank of India, we did this. Okay, transaction number 4. On 2nd of April 2021, purchase goods worth rupees 50,000 from Kotari Electronics on credit. It's on credit. The goods are charged at 12% GST. His invoice number is 072 dated 1st of April 2021. What voucher will you enter in TallyPrime? So the nature of transaction, it's a purchase of goods on credit. Okay. And what are all the information that's given? Supplier invoice number is given. Invoice date is given. Narhari, yes, it is a purchase transaction. Okay. That is what we need to enter. So let us look at how you need to do this transaction. So transaction type will be purchase. How do you enter this purchase transaction? Go to Gateway of Tally, go to voucher, click on F9, shortcut key. So let's go to Tally. Okay, I'll come back, escape. I'm on Gateway of Tally. Go to voucher menu. Click on voucher menu. Now it's a purchase transaction. On the left hand side, you can see we are in contra. It's not the contra transaction we want to do. We need to do purchase transaction. So on the right hand side, you could see all the shortcut menus. F9 is for purchase. You could click on F9 on your keyboard, or on the mouse, you could click on purchase. Right? So now you are on purchase screen. Okay. So now what we will do is we will change the mode and take it as voucher. So it's single entry. Okay. So I'm on purchase. I'm just changing the mode and taking it as voucher. So this is where I'm entering the debit credit values. So first is you need to look at the date of the transaction. Date of the transaction is 2nd of April. Yes, we are on 2nd of April. Now it is asking for supplier invoice number and date. So supplier invoice number is 072 dated 1st of April 21. Now which ledger has to be credited and which ledger has to be debited? So you could look at here. Credit has to go to Kotari Electronics because he is our supplier, and debit has to go to local purchases, and there is a GST of 6 and 6%, that is 12% on 50,000. So the credit has to go to Kotari Electronics. So in the list you have Kotari Electronics, select Kotari Electronics. Okay, then it will ask for additional details like receipt number. Okay, what is the dispatch mode? What is the vehicle number, LR number, all those details. If you have all those details, you could enter or just click on Control A. Okay, then you have bill to ship to. If you have a concept of bill to ship to, you could use bill to ship to. Or if you don't need both buyer and consignee details, you could have only bill to details, bill from details. So Kotari Electronics, his address, if it's stored in the master, it will automatically show. Then which state? Karnataka state, his PIN code and his GST number. It's